Exposed. My dad's 56M Windfall led to an amazing turnaround. Discover how I found his hidden need. Jake had never seen the diner so packed. The familiar aroma of fries and burgers wafted through the air. But today, it felt different. Tables were overflowing with excited chatter, cash in hand, ready to spend because Hank Dawson, the beloved owner, had just become a millionaire overnight. The news rattled the tight-knit Midwestern town, electrifying everyone with whispers of fortune. Yet, as much as smiles painted faces, Jake felt a tightness in his chest. His father was a war veteran, a man who wore kindness like a badge, and his new wealth should bring joy, but all Jake felt was doubt. For years, he toiled as a mechanic, struggling by while keeping the family afloat, watching the diner, their family's lifeblood, survive on scraps. The thought of losing their humble roots for more extravagant dreams sent a shiver down his spine. How could they? Jake's thoughts spiraled deeper into a storm of insecurity, the weight of his father's sudden fame pressing heavily on him. The excitement grew, yet the charm of the diner slipped through Jake's fingers. His mother, tired of the struggle, was suddenly suggesting vacations and shiny new things, all of which seemed out of place in their frugal world. Beneath the surface, jealousy clawed at Jake. Didn't they understand the beauty of earning every dime with hard work? The diner, with its chipped countertops and laughing patrons, had meant something, and now it felt as if the soul was being stripped away. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days unraveled, whispers among townsfolk grew louder. The lucky millionaire had become a talking point, and with that, envy festered. Jake's resentment simmered hot, but something shifted one evening when he caught a glimpse of his father, staring blankly at the diner's neon sign, the glow almost mocking him. The realization hit. His father bore a weight heavier than the cash in his pocket. Beneath the jovial smiles lay a vulnerability Jake had never seen. Feeling a flicker of hope, Jake decided to organize a fundraiser, determined to reconnect with his father's heart and the community that nurtured them. What if they could turn all this wealth into something that reflected their roots? As preparations began, their neighbors rallied round, sharing stories of how hard work had shaped their lives. Each tale revealed a rawness, wrapping Jake in a warmth he had almost forgotten. But tension bubbled too. Hard questions surfaced about luck versus effort, people weighing in on who truly deserved success. That day of the fundraiser, the air hung thick with energy, with anticipation and tension. Just as the first guests arrived, complications brewed, threatening to test Jake and his father's resolve. Suddenly, it wasn't just about the diner or money. It was about family, loyalty, and the possibility of a beautiful future built around the very values that had once bound them. Would they come together, or would this windfall push them apart just when they needed each other the most? The evening began, and with it, unspoken fears lingered in the air, setting the stage for the drama that awaited them all. As the clock struck 6, the diner buzzed with energy. The tables, once a cozy meeting place for weary workers, were now dressed for the event. Colorful tablecloths, flickering candles, and hand-drawn centerpieces adorned with heartfelt messages. Jake stood at the entrance, heart racing, arms crossed over his chest, watching groups shuffle in. They were all here not just for dinner, but to witness the new chapter of the Dawson family. A familiar voice broke through the chatter. "Jake, you've outdone yourself." It was Mrs. Thompson, her smile radiant as ever. She had been a patron of the diner for as long as Jake could remember. Her praise sparked a flicker of hope in him, but the shadows of doubt still loomed. What if this night didn't go as he envisioned? His father's laughter rang out from the kitchen, a sound that had once filled him with reassurance. Yet tonight, it felt hollow, as if a veil hung between them. Hank emerged, wiping his hands on a dish towel, shoulders slightly slumped as he navigated the crowd. Jake's heart sank. He could see the strain in his father's eyes, hidden behind the charisma he usually wore. The first speech was delivered by old Mr. Harris, a retired mayor and a cherished figure in town. He reminisced about the early days of the diner, the late nights spent cleaning up after the rush. The crowd chuckled, nostalgia swirling around them like a protective blanket. But Jake stood rigid, every word echoing in his mind. What happens when the money runs out? Will any of this matter? As Mr. Harris concluded, the applause filled the room. It was a moment to celebrate, yet the clash of optimism and uncertainty gnawed at Jake. He took a deep breath, willing himself to push through. Next up, I want to introduce my dad, he said, his voice quivering slightly as he stepped aside for Hank. Hank took the stage, his presence commanding yet vulnerable. I want to thank all of you, he began. But Jake saw it, the hesitation, the weight of expectations. This diner has always been more than a business to me. It's a reflection of our community, our struggles, our dreams. Tears pricked at Jake's eyes. His father's sincerity pierced through the chaos of wealth. Yet, just as hope stirred, he heard whispers among the crowd, doubts about Hank's ability to use the money wisely. A chill ran down Jake's spine. Could they truly redefine their success? Hank continued, I want to use this opportunity to give back. We're planning community events, charity drives, things that matter. The applause was thunderous, but Jake felt a storm brewing within him. Was this what his dad wanted? To put their lives on display? With each shout of approval, Jake's heart soared and plummeted in one breath. He wanted his father's authenticity, not the face of a millionaire. In a sudden rush of determination, he took the mic. Can I say something? He asked, his voice shaking. The chatter quieted, eyes narrowing on him. We need to remember what brought us here, what built us. His pulse quickened as he caught a glimpse of concern flitting across his father's face. Maybe we could use this windfall to empower hard work, build scholarships for kids, fix up the diner without compromising its soul. An unexpected murmur of agreement swept through the crowd. Hank's eyes widened with pride and apprehension. Jake, before he could finish, excitement flickered, igniting discussions among the guests. Ideas bounced back and forth across tables, and for the first time that evening, Jake felt a sense of unity instead of division. But as the night wore on, the chatter began to take a hostile turn. Who deserved what? With tensions rising, Jake caught his father's gaze. They were in this together, but how to navigate all these emotions? The evening had turned into a battlefield, pitting dreams against reality. As Jake stepped back from the mic, he realized that this was only the beginning of their struggle. Was bridging the gap between old values and newfound wealth possible? Jake's heart raced with anticipation and dread, waiting for the unraveling of the truth he feared. Just when it seemed they might overcome the divide, a loud crash echoed through the diner. All eyes turned to the kitchen door, where a figure hobbled into view, panic etched across their face. The community's buzz stilled, and Jake's blood ran cold. What was about to unfold? The figure stumbled forward, clutching their side, breathless and wide-eyed. It was Lily, the waitress who had served tables in the diner ever since Jake could remember. Normally full of laughter, tonight her expression was stark, painted with urgency. The silence around the room thickened, hearts pounding in sync with the clock's ticking hands. Lily, what happened? Jake rushed to her side, worry stealing his breath. The crowd murmured, eyes darting from her pale face to Hank, now frozen, uncertainty flickering on his features. They're gone, she gasped, her words tumbling out in a frantic rush. The kids from the baseball team, they were supposed to be here helping out, but they got caught in an accident on the way. Jake felt like the floor dropped beneath him. The joy of the evening evaporated, replaced by a flood of dread. The room held its breath, the weight of concern draped over them like a heavy blanket. Are they okay? Jake managed to ask. Fear knotted in his stomach. He glanced at his father, desperate for some sign of reassurance. But Hank's face betrayed him, displaying a tempest of emotions. They're at the hospital. Nothing life-threatening, Lily said, her voice wavering. But they need our help funds for treatment, and the boys will miss the next few weeks of practice. They're devastated. The diner transformed. The tables and decorations seemed to dim under the new seriousness. Conversations erupted, but instead of excitement, they morphed into hushed discussions about how to contribute, how to support the kids. Jake felt an unexpected rush of resolve. This was where their newfound purpose could truly start. "Let us do something," he shouted, catching the attention of the crowd once more. "This is our community. We can rally behind these kids. We can fundraise, host events," and Hank stepped closer, snapping Jake back to reality. "Son," he murmured, his voice steady yet tinged with concern. "This is a lot bigger than just one event. We have to think this through." But the energy in the diner buzzed anew, churning with vigor. "We can start a GoFundMe," someone near the front shouted, sparking a chorus of supportive cries. As faces illuminated with renewed purpose, Jake felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was what his dad wanted, a community that came together at the right moment. Jake caught Hank's eye again, searching for shared understanding. They were in this side by side. "Dad!" he yelled, excitement bubbling in his chest. "We can be the anchors for these kids, just like we've always been for everyone in this town." Just as Hank looked proud, a flash of worry crossed his face. "Jake, we can help," he acknowledged, but Jake could sense the weight of decisions yet to come. With a deep breath, Jake stepped to the front again, the mic clutched tightly in his hand. "We need to shake off the worries. Come together. Let us bring the heart of this diner to life. Let us get the kids back on their feet." Cheers erupted, igniting fervor among the diners. A few patrons rushed to start planning, making enthusiastic calls and drafting posters. Yet, without warning, the mood shifted again as doubts resurfaced amidst the enthusiasm. "But how can we make sure this doesn't turn into a publicity stunt?" Lily breathed, still catching her breath as she approached Jake and Hank. "And with everything going on with the new money, can we keep it real?" Someone from the back shouted out, stirring renewed uncertainty. Excitement was met with skepticism. Jake felt the scales tipping again. How could they channel this momentum without losing sight of who they were? What if they failed already before they even began? The buzz of conflicting emotions filled the air, and Jake gripped the mic tighter. Out there, the community was on the verge of transforming. Yet internally, he felt the walls inching closer, entangled in hope and fear. When would these conflicting feelings unravel into clarity? Would they truly manage to shift the tides for the kids? Or was this just another moment of chaos about to spill over? Jake stood there, heart hammering, anxiously staring at his father, waiting for a sign. The next step loomed large before him like the rising tide. Would they sink or swim? As the shouts of encouragement faded, Jake felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty swirling in his chest. The weight of responsibility pressed down, each heartbeat echoing a silent prayer for strength. He noticed more faces in the diner, their expressions tight with concern. A community once eager to celebrate was now faced with the harsh reality of tragedy. "All right, let us take a breath," Hank interjected, his authoritative presence calming the fray of emotions. "We need a plan. Rallying support is key, but we can't rush into this without knowing how we're going to do it. We need to know our limits." Jake nodded, but he felt a flicker of defiance sparking within him. "But Dad, we can't just sit back and do nothing. The kids need us. They need hope. We can't shy away from that." Hank's gaze softened, the turmoil in his eyes revealing something deeper. "I know, son. It's just I've seen too many good intentions go awry. If we're going to do this, we need to be smart and genuine. We can't afford to lose sight of what really matters." Jake thought of the boys, their laughter, their energy as they ran the bases. "You mean we have to show them that we care, not just put on a show?" He pondered, his brow furrowing. "Exactly." Hank's voice held conviction. "Let us make this about them, not us." Suddenly, the idea sparked bright within Jake. It wasn't just about the funds. It was about bringing people together, about community spirit. What if we host a series of events? Maybe we could have a baseball tournament, bake sales, a car wash, a whole week of activities. And we can get the kids involved in each one. Lily stepped forward, her eyes lighting up. That's the spirit. If we revolve everything around the boys and let them share their stories, people will rally behind them. We can make it personal and create a connection. The energy shifted again, filled with renewed determination. Conversations reignited, each idea branching out like a growth spurt. The diner buzzed with renewed life suggestions for theme nights, food drives, even a local concert to boost awareness and gathering support. As people filled the diner with colorful discussions, Jake took a step back, watching the room transform. The flicker of hope was becoming a wildfire. He could see the spark in his father's eyes, but then a nagging thought tugged at him. Wait, he called, the growing chaos around him momentarily silencing. What if it goes too far? What if we end up promising too much? It could backfire if people start expecting the impossible. Lily's turn was somber. Or what if we don't do enough? Jake felt the walls start to close in again, the stirring doubts creeping back. It was key to find the sweet spot between ambition and reality without losing sight of why they were ever starting in the first place. The excitement renewed once more as plans blossomed, but Jake felt a hollow ache building in the pit of his stomach. What if their efforts weren't enough? What if they only intensified the pressure on those boys already trying to overcome their fears? Suddenly, a child's innocent laughter caught his attention. Through the window, he saw a group of neighborhood kids playing ball, their carefree spirits reminiscent of simpler times. They were the faces they were fighting for. Jake clenched his fists, determination flooding through him. "We'll do it, Dad," he declared, a fire igniting in his heart. "We're going to give this everything we've got. These kids deserve our best." His father nodded firmly, then placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. Together, that word echoed between them, a pledge, a promise. As they made their way back to the front, the air thick with the electricity of purpose, Jake realized the path forward was as unpredictable as it was solid. But the feeling hung heavily, the continual rush of doubt, the lurking uncertainty. Would they truly pull it all together, or were they simply setting themselves up for a greater fall? With the din of busy voices all around him, Jake stood tall, his heart quickening for the next step. How would they navigate this intricate dance between hope and fear in the days to come? Would they find their way, or allow shadows of doubt to overshadow their light? The next morning, the sun greeted the diner with a soft glow, spilling warm light across the worn wooden tables. Jake arrived early, anticipation buzzing like electricity in the air. Today marked the start of their first planning session for the events. The thought of gathering the community made him feel alive, though a lingering shadow of anxiety reminded him of their fragile footing. He set up the empty tables, remnants of yesterday's enthusiasm still echoing in the corners, and motioned for the others to drift in. One by one, familiar faces appeared. Lily, fresh coffee in hand, greeted him with a bright smile that dispelled some of his worries. Hank followed, looking resolute, but Jake could still see the flicker of concern in his father's eyes. "All right, team," Hank said, standing at the head of the table. "Let us get started. Today's about ideas. Let us talk about how to make this week resonate with everyone." The thrumming atmosphere brought energy and enthusiasm. People began voicing their thoughts, pitching ideas that swirled around the room like a festive whirlwind. All Jake wanted was to catch every spark of inspiration and transform it into something tangible. What if we set up a kids' day where they can showcase their skills? One woman suggested excitedly. A day focused just on them where they feel like the stars. "That's a great idea," chimed in another voice. "And what if we had a storytelling night? The kids could share what baseball means to them, real stories to inspire." With every passing moment, ideas layered upon one another. Jake felt hope swelling to fill the room. "Okay, so we have the foundations," Jake exclaimed as he jotted down suggestions on the board. "Baseball tournament, kids' day, storytelling night, what else?" Every contribution reignited Jake's spirit until, suddenly, a heavier silence settled. Branching conversations stopped as everyone turned toward the door. An elderly gentleman stood there, shivering slightly, holding a cardboard sign that read, "In need." Jake's chest tightened. Something about the man's posture, a mix of vulnerability and loss, triggered a wave of empathy. Who knew what burdens they were carrying? Let us help him, Jake blurted, instantly fueled with compassion. Give him a seat. Someone grabbed some coffee. The man's eyes widened with surprise, hesitant yet hopeful as he was welcomed in. The shift in the atmosphere was palpable. Everyone suddenly realized the broader purpose behind their efforts. It wasn't just about the boys, they were aiming higher than that. They were creating a lifeline for their entire community. As they engaged the man in conversation, Jake witnessed a transformation. The genuine warmth in their collective spirit turned apprehension into acceptance. Sharing stories, laughter echoed around the diner. Connections deepened as the initial intrepidness faded, leaving only a new shared mission. But beneath the surface of this newfound camaraderie, Jake's internal voice whispered again. It hinted at potential fractures, a reminder that not all attempts to uplift go as planned. This newfound hope needed solid grounding. What if they couldn't help everyone? What if they raised expectations too high? After the man left, the meeting resumed, but the earlier energy returned, edged with caution. Hank broke the lingering silence. This is bigger than baseball. We have to carry that kindness forward, beyond the week of events. How do we do that? Jake felt a surge of inspiration, but the specter of doubt still loomed. We should remember those we meet along the way. Maybe even create a way to support others after the week passes. With a collective nod, ideas spiraled again. Hope lingered in the air with every suggestion. But Jake couldn't shake the worry. They were just starting out, and every moment felt heavy with potential as he looked around. He saw faces illuminated by determination and a flicker of joy. But was it enough? Would they find a way, or would the weight of their aspirations crush them in the end? What if the very community they lifted found ways to fall apart once more? Question hung in the air that threatened to shadow their progress. How could they ensure this was just the beginning? The next morning, the diner buzzed with the sound of clinking dishes and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Jake was back at the cafe, this time armed with a whiteboard filled with ideas. The previous day's discussion had sparked a trail of thoughts, and he wanted to channel that energy in a productive way. As the regulars began to gather, Jake noticed Hank at the counter. His brow furrowed as he flipped through a notebook. "Dad, you okay?" Jake asked, stirring a question rooted in concern from the depths of a hopeful heart. Hank looked up, a momentary flicker of anxiety crossing his face before he smiled. "Just thinking about the logistics. We need to keep our heads in the game and our plans realistic." Jake understood. His father was a man of practicality, and while the enthusiasm of their planning brought fresh potential, Hank's cautious nature tempered it. People filtered in, and soon the room filled with chatter. Lily took it upon herself to circulate, encouraging everyone to share their thoughts. "This is our chance," she declared, her eyes gleaming. "Let us make it a week to remember." The ideas flowed once more: craft fairs, family movie nights, even a talent show. Each suggestion was met with raised eyebrows and excited nods. Jake felt the thrill of possibility surge again. But then, as if sensing the wave of joy, the door swung open, and the air grew heavy. A mother stood in the entrance, cradling a baby wrapped snugly in a worn blanket. Four young children clung to her legs, their faces dirty but bright with curiosity. The mother scanned the room, her expression a blend of exhaustion and hope. "Hi," Jake found himself saying, stepping toward her. "Can we help?" The woman hesitated, her voice barely rising above the din. "We just moved here. I heard this place was welcoming." She shifted, clearly overwhelmed. In that moment, Jake felt his pulse quicken. He glanced around, noting the attentive faces watching, ready to respond. "Please come inside. Sit down. We have food and coffee. You're not alone." A supportive murmur rippled through the room as Lily motioned for the family to join them. One by one, the community members chipped in, offering food, and an enveloping blanket of kindness spread out, easing the tension in the air. But beneath this warmth, hesitation nestled in Jake's stomach. They were taking on more than they could handle. What if they couldn't meet every need? How could they carry the weight of everyone's hopes? We can set up a donation drive, Hank suggested suddenly, cutting through Jake's worries. It's practical and good for everyone. We can help this family while generating resources for future needs. Nods of agreement filled the diner. People began discussing logistics, tapping into their collective strengths. The atmosphere shifted again, this time thrusting Jake into the role of orchestrator. It felt exhilarating but also terrifying. Overwhelmed but trying to push through, Jake took a deep breath. Let us make this more than just a week. Let us create a framework. Make connections that last. Excitement twisted through the room, but as Jake added more ideas to the board, his mind couldn't shake the worry. What if the heavier realities kept knocking on their door? Would the challenges come barreling in like a storm after sunny skies? As the session continued, Jake caught glimpses of the mother's gratitude through the crowd, a fleeting smile, a momentary flicker of relief. But those quiet exchanges weren't enough to silence his internal doubts. The week held promise, but potential pitfalls loomed around every corner. Would they spread themselves too thin? The final idea for the day involved a larger community gathering, aiming to unite everyone under one event, much like the baseball game that sparked this journey. But what if, by reaching further, they risked losing their foothold? Jake's heart raced with the weight of possibility as he folded his arms, watching the plans blossom. This was far greater than he had imagined. Yet the delicate balance between hope and reality teetered like a fragile flower in the wind. As they wrapped up the meeting, Jake couldn't shake the thought. Were they really ready for the challenges ahead? Would they stand together? Or would the very threads they wove into their community begin to fray? And as they stepped out of the diner into the bright afternoon, a question lingered like an echo, a pulse of uncertainty beneath their growing unity. What awaited them outside that door, ready to test their resolve? The sun hung low in the sky as Jake stepped out of the diner, the warm breeze carrying the faint scent of summer. He squinted against the brightness and took a moment to gather his thoughts. The world felt heavier today, the stakes higher than they'd ever been. Could they truly make a difference in the lives of the newcomers and in the community they cherished? Not far down the street, the local park was buzzing with activities. Families began to gather, children chased each other, and laughter floated through the air. This was the heart of their town, and somehow they were all intertwined, threads connecting them in a tapestry that felt more fragile than ever. Yet, hope was alive. Jake felt it coursing through him. "Hey, you coming?" Lily called, pulling him back from his thoughts. She stood at the park entrance, waving. "We're meeting in a bit to brainstorm ideas for the gathering. Bring that board of yours." Shortly after, Jake found himself sitting on the grass with a small group, discussing everything from food stalls to entertainment. Each idea was met with excitement, but lurking beneath was an unspoken fear. What if they couldn't pull it all together? What if everything fell apart? Just then, amid the laughter and cheerful chatter, the mother from the diner appeared, joined by her children. Jake's heart raced. She approached cautiously but smiled with a mix of anxiety and warmth. I wanted to thank you all for the kindness you showed us earlier." Lily stood up, beaming. "We're just getting started. How about you and your kids join us? We could use some more hands." The woman hesitated for a moment, eyes darting to her kids who were now picked up by new friends, their giggles ringing clear like music. After a short pause, she nodded, eyes glistening. "I love that. My name is Maria." As Maria interacted with the group, Jake noticed how quickly the atmosphere shifted. Her presence was a bridge, connecting the old and new, weaving stories together. The kids brought laughter, and for a moment, worries dissolved into sunshine and hope. Yet beneath the surface, Jake felt the uneasiness ebble back. Their growing enthusiasm was elating, but could this community sustain such a sudden influx of need? The thought was an intruder amidst the joy, nagging at the edge of his mind. As they compiled ideas, someone brought up a bake sale to raise funds. Jake watched the excitement blossom as they shared recipes from generations, tales of shared meals, and laughter over burnt cookies turning into laughter. The warmth around him was palpable, and yet, the gnawing concern turned into a small whisper, urging him to remember. Was this really sustainable? I know it seems like a lot of fun, he said, raising a brow as he looked at the group. But we have to be smart about how we manage this. We've got to balance fun with our ability to support. We can't just open our hearts. We've got to open our plans, too. Everyone paused. The excitement diminished for a moment as reality seeped in. They needed to plan carefully. They had hope, but hope unanchored could drift away. Jake felt the weight of their dreams against the backdrop of this beautiful day. Families rallied together, but what about their struggles underneath the undercurrents of their lives that felt so real sometimes? Would this plan hold when the winds of life tested them? Just as he shared his thoughts, Maria spoke softly, a mother's wisdom in her voice. Some days are brighter than others, and together we can shield each other. That's what community is about. Her words resonated with everyone. A collective sigh of understanding swept through the group, the tension easing like a gentle rain as they refocused on plans. Jake's heart began to ease, but there was still a flicker of doubt nestled deep inside. They had a strong foundation, but would they be able to handle the storms that inevitably came with a new beginning? And in that moment, off in the distance, a thundercloud rolled in silently, threatening to overshadow the brightness. Would the unity they forged be strong enough to weather the coming storm? The rest of the meeting blazed with a newfound determination, yet Jake sensed a growing shadow of uncertainty approaching. How long before it reached their doorstep? As the group wrapped up their meeting, Jake felt the pastoral charm of the park shift slightly as the day wore on. The laughter seemed to fade as shadows lengthened, hinting at the uncertainty beyond their efforts. Maria gathered her children, her smile bright against the casual backdrop of camaraderie, though Jake noticed her eyes flit nervously between the group and her kids. "Are you okay?" he asked her quietly, seeking to cut through the facade of cheer that surrounded them. It felt important, somehow, to pull back the layers. Maria chuckled softly, but her laughter held a hint of sadness. "I am, but sometimes I worry that the umbrella of community can't protect us as much as we wish it would." Those words struck a chord in Jake. He turned to watch the other families packing up their things, blissfully unaware of the storm looming over them. He wondered how many shared Maria's anxiety, perhaps buried under layers of smiles and laughter as the sun began to dip beneath the horizon, casting a golden hue around the park. Jake felt a mix of apprehension and hope. Could they forge something meaningful amid all this uncertainty? "Let us go grab some ice cream," Lily suggested, breaking the tension. "We need a sweet treat after all that brainstorming." Group laughter rose again, and Jake couldn't help but smile as they strolled over to the nearby ice cream stand. The air buzzed with chatter as kids clamored for their favorite flavors while adults chatted about the gathering to come. Jake lingered a moment, watching Maria and her children share a scoop of chocolate together, their faces smeared with delight. It warmed his heart, and still, a strain in his gut reminded him how quickly joy turned to challenge. Suddenly, a loud clap of thunder startled everyone. The sky, now an ominous gray, sent a shiver down his spine. The wind picked up while a flash of lightning illuminated the darkening clouds. It was as though nature was warning them, revealing the flaws in their plans with a fierce reminder of their smallness. "Looks like we're in for it," Jake muttered, trying to mask his own worries while glancing at the horizon. "Let us get moving," Lily urged, waving the group back. Children yelped with excitement and a tinge of fear while adults began herding families towards their cars. As he moved briskly with the flow, Jake couldn't shake off the deep-seated anxiety that crept in with the storm. Would the community stand strong against this unexpected turmoil? Would their voices and dreams be drowned out by the chaos of life outside? Just before climbing into his truck, he caught a glimpse of Maria talking to another mother in anxious whispers, their expressions drawn tight. Concern etched deep into her brow reminded him that they were all fighting personal battles as they loaded into their vehicles. The first raindrops splattered against windshields, each one echoing a lingering question in Jake's heart. They had forged connections, built up their hopes, but could the strength of community withstand the storms life threw at them? That night, Jake sat at his kitchen table, staring at the list of ideas they had generated. Excitement was quickly replaced by worry as he remembered Maria's face. There was a story waiting to unfold beneath the surface, and he felt an urgent need to help her navigate through it. The rain intensified, drumming against the roof, reflecting his swirling thoughts. What lay hidden beneath the surface of their joys? What unspoken needs were buried deep within those they sought to uplift? Jake picked up his phone, contemplating reaching out to Maria. But as he did, a newspaper headline caught his eye, an article about community struggles in times like these, echoing the same fears that haunted him. He took a deep breath, knowing that understanding was just the beginning. How could they help dig out the roots of those struggles? In that moment, Jake realized their gathering was more than just a celebration. It was a call to arms, an opportunity to blend hearts and minds. But with the storm approaching, time was of the essence. How would he bridge the gap between celebration and the raw needs that lay before them? As thunder cracked again, clearer than before, he sensed there was even more to uncover. What had Maria truly left unspoken? And more importantly, could he be the one to help her find her voice? Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing beneath the surface. After that meeting in the park, he sensed a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a heaviness that clung to each moment. He pushed his chair back and captured a breath. The walls of his kitchen were closing in on him, and the quiet patter of rain felt suffocating rather than calming. Pulling up Maria's contact on his phone, he hesitated. What would he say? "Hey Maria, just checking in?" It sounded meaningless. Yet, he could almost hear her anxious laugh echoing in his mind. She needed more than a casual check-in. Flipping the phone over, he made a decision. He was going to visit her. Wrapping a light jacket around himself, Jake grabbed his keys and stepped into the thickening night. The rain had turned from a sprinkle to a steady downpour, each droplet a reminder of the urgency swirling inside him. He drove slowly, the windshield wipers working overtime against the curtain of water obscuring his view. As he approached Maria's neighborhood, he noticed lights flickering on and off in a few houses. At first, he thought it was just the storm playing tricks, but then he realized the power was likely out. He parked in front of her home and made his way up the slick driveway, dodging puddles to reach her door. Knocking firmly, he felt his heart race. The sound echoed through the heavy rain, and almost instantly, he saw Maria's shadow. She peeked out, her face illuminated by the warm glow of candles flickering behind her. Relief washed over him at the sight of her, though her brow still furrowed with concern. "Jake!" she exclaimed, opening the door wider. The warm scent of something cooking wafted over, mingling with the rain-soaked air. "I wasn't expecting you. Come in." He stepped inside, shaking off the rain. I thought I'd check in after the meeting. You seemed, I don't know, a bit off?" "Yeah, well," she sighed, her smile faltering slightly as she pushed her damp hair behind her ear. "It's been a long day." The living room was cozy but dim. Shadows danced around, amplifying her unease. "I have dinner on the stove, but with the power flickering, I'm just trying to get through the night." Her voice quivered, and Jake noticed her shoulders tense. "What is really going on, Maria?" Jake asked, his voice threading concern. "It's more than just the storm. I senti it?" She hesitated, her gaze darting away as if searching for the right words among the storm outside. "It's everything, the kids, the uncertainty of it all. I keep pretending we're okay, but some days it feels like I'm holding onto a thread." Jake felt a pang of desperation for her. He wanted to reach out, to carry her burdens, but he wasn't sure how. "You know you don't have to do this alone," he said, his voice softening. "We're all in this together." "There's just so much fear," she confessed, vulnerability spilling from her like the rain outside. "What if I'm not enough for my kids? What if we lose everything?" Pushing away from the doorframe, Jake stepped closer, feeling the weight of her words. "Hey, that's not going to happen. You're doing a fantastic job. Sometimes life throws us challenges, but we can face them together." Maria's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I keep hoping things will get better. I thought that joining the community efforts would help. But what if it's not enough?" His heart ached as he watched her wrestle with her fears. "You've already taken the first step. You're not just part of the community. You bring value and strength to it, Maria. Let us figure this out together." Just then, a loud crash of thunder rattled the windows, and the lights flickered once more. She bit her lip, a flicker of worry crossing her face. I just don't know where to start. Jake felt the intensity of the moment. The weight of her fears cast long shadows. The road ahead loomed uncertain, but he realized it was bigger than just their immediate worries. There was a community trembling under storms, both literal and metaphorical, and together they could find a way to pull each other through. Let us brainstorm some ideas, he suggested, hoping to inspire a glimmer of hope. We'll face the storm together, one step at a time. We can pull others in too. Maria nodded slowly, a flicker of determination lighting her features. Okay, but promise me one thing. He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Anything. Promise me we won't give up. Even when it's hard. Promise. With that, they both sensed the seeds of something new take root, a shared courage that intertwined their fates. But as the rain kept pouring, Jake glanced at the darkened world outside, feeling the weight of their journey ahead. How many others needed this same lifeline? As thunder broke once more, it echoed a question within him. How could they lay the foundation for hope, not just for themselves, but for the entire community? The following days passed in a flurry of ideas and connection. Beneath the backdrop of storm clouds, Jake and Maria met regularly, their shared sense of purpose guiding them as they crafted a plan for the gathering. Each evening felt like a spark igniting. They called upon others to join and exchange hopes, fears, and dreams as momentum built. The diner became a hub of creativity and solidarity. People poured in, enthusiastic to share their strengths and contribute, flipping the narrative of fear to one of unity. Jake couldn't help but smile as he watched Maria rally volunteers for their budding initiatives, her charisma blooming under the community spotlight. Little by little, the shadows of doubt began to lift. Let us host a community day, Jake suggested one evening as they chased away the dim light of the diner with laughter and brainstorming. We can bring in local musicians, food stalls, games for the kids. It'll be a celebration of our strength, but also a charity event to support the boys from the baseball team and others in need. Absolutely. And we can share stories too, Maria added, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. We need to remind everyone of the beauty in our struggles and how we've always pulled through. As plans solidified, whispers of their determination began to ripple through town. Flyers announcing the community day covered countertops in businesses across the main street. Excitement soon rippled through families as they prepared, baking cookies, sewing decorations, and gathering donations. Yet, as the date approached, a sudden knock at the diner door sent ripples of unease through Jake. It was the mayor, his face serious, a heavy air settling in behind him. I need to talk to you about your event. There's a concern, he began, and Jake felt his heart sink. What concern? Jake asked, confusion clouding his mind. I love what you're doing here, but we can't afford any trouble, the mayor replied, his voice steady but tinged with worry. Word's gotten out about the funds. We've seen success before turn sour. We need to ensure everything stays above board. Can't look like a publicity stunt. Jake sat back, feeling the weight of expectations pressing down on him. We want to keep it authentic. It's about the community, not us. The mayor nodded firmly, but Jake could see the caution in his eyes. Good intentions don't always protect us, son. I suggest keeping things low-key. Perhaps just close recruitment for other groups. Returning home that night, Jake wrestled with uncertainty. The gathering was meant to be a celebration, yet fear threatened to dull its light. He found himself awake, staring at the ceiling, wrestling with the challenges that loomed like storm clouds overhead. Would their efforts fizzle out? Would the fragility of their circumstances lead to disappointment? When the day of the community day finally dawned, the air buzzed with anticipation. Under a clear blue sky, the diner transformed into a festival of color and energy. Families trickled in, excited chatter echoing through each corner, and Jake felt a mix of joy and anxiety twist together. Are you ready? Maria grinned, her vivacious spirit electrifying the air as she buttoned her apron. Let us do this, Jake replied, fists clenched in a mixture of excitement and tension. The first notes of music rang out, lilting gently through the crowd and bringing life to each shared story. Laughter floated through the air like the sweet aroma of grilled burgers. As Jake watched families connect, he reveled in the realization that hope was ignited. Joy surged through him as he embraced the energy around them. Yet, in the midst of celebration, the nagging anxiety lingered. Just then, a commotion broke through the boys from the baseball team, beaming and proudly wearing new jerseys, came rushing in with their parents. Cheers erupted as they approached Jake and Maria. "Thank you, thank you," they shouted, bursting with gratitude for the community's efforts. Each child's smile illuminated the room, filling the gaps Jake thought life had forged as the gathering progressed. The room swelled with energy. Families stepped up to share stories of resilience, tales that unified their experiences and wove a rich tapestry of hope. Jake recalled Maria's earlier words how powerful vulnerability could be and felt the true essence of their mission coming alive. Toward the end of the event, Jake placed his hand on his father's shoulder, the grin stretching across Hank's face, turning into an expression of pride. "Look at what you've built, Jake. It's incredible. It's more than a fundraiser. It's a lifeline." As conversations flowed, the lines between the new and the old began to blur. Instead of clashing, they found harmony, where love for their community reigned supreme. In that moment, Jake realized that through connection, they had forged a powerful, relentless force capable of withstanding any storm. Days turned into weeks, and soon the ripple of kindness continued to grow. The Community Day was not just a singular event but the beginning of a movement, seamlessly merging community life with purpose. Funds raised exceeded expectations, creating scholarships and support systems for families like Maria's, a lasting legacy blooming from the ashes of doubt. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in soft hues of orange and pink, Jake and Maria sat on the diner's front porch, gazing at the horizon. The fear they once harbored felt like a distant echo, replaced by a newfound sense of belonging. "We did it," Jake whispered, a radiant smile spreading across his face. Together, Maria responded, her eyes shining. In that moment, they knew their journey was far from over. The challenges resided in every heartbeat, but they had taken their first steps into a world not defined by struggles, but rather by hope, resilience, and unwavering community spirit. As they sat, laughter ringing in their ears, they recognized the truth. Love and support could turn even the heaviest storms into something beautiful. Join this journey too. You need to subscribe now to be part of the next inspiring stories. Leave a like now to show your support and keep the energy flowing. Comment down below with your thoughts and feelings about how a community can bring change. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the empowerment. Let's keep growing together.